Hi, hi there, Ange. Can I ask you latest team news and who's travelled and who hasn't?
So I guess from recent last game, obviously a couple of players ineligible, Jed and Region, and then I think the only other one's missing is Pape, who's got a slight knock from the weekend, so he's out, and then we get Bentancur back. I think that's the only one. Yeah.
So it looked like maybe we showed a bit of discomfort in training today. Was that the case?
Yeah, he tried to train, but he was still a bit sore from the weekend. So we're hoping it won't be anything that keeps him out for too long. But chance for him on the weekend. But just the turnaround was too quick. He's training, but he's not travelled. He's not playing, and probably another week to 10 days for him. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
It's getting really confusing. I'm sorry. To follow your follow-up questions.
Yeah, this happens to me every week, mate.
Yeah, I imagine.
Go on.
You don't have to. Okay. I'm sorry.
No, you go for it. Yeah, sorry. No, you're right. Yeah,
okay.
No, absolutely, I forgot.
Sorry.
Hi, Ange. With more injuries with Pape, the question a lot of fans are still continuing to ask is about transfers.
Yeah.
It's day 22 now. They've already brought the goalkeeper in so far. You've talked about how difficult it is this window. Is there a possibility that no one else comes in at this stage?
Potentially. Yeah. As I said, club's working hard to try and get some help for the players, but as far as I know at the moment, there's nothing imminent. So, but things happen quickly in sort of the last week of the window. So, still hopeful.
Just one more on the left back situation, as you mentioned, Region and Spence not ineligible. So Archie's played in a few different positions. Is that the first thought that he moves to left back, or with Ben available now, could he go to left back? What's your thinking?
It'll be one of those two, mate. That's all we got. So look, more than likely, I think we'll play Archie at left back and Ben at centre back. We've got a couple of different ways to sort of set that up. But we've literally got 4 fit defenders, so they'll be the ones that start.
Ange, with all that in mind, can you just talk us through how your mind works over the next 3 games? It feels like 3 very important games. You haven't got many players. Do you just throw them all out there and hope for the best, or do you try to manage them a little bit? Has anyone stayed at home for a rest?
Yeah, look, reality is we don't have a lot of choice. There's no doubt that the players. I mean, Pape is probably the latest in guys who have just been sort of grinding through it for as long as they can, and we just got to keep doing that. We've got no other options. That's the basic premise of it. That I think we've probably got 13 first-team players who've travelled today. Weekend we're hoping maybe like I said, Pape, quick turnaround, potentially Biss, but everything else is sort of further down the track. So we don't really have many options apart from throwing sort of untried youngsters in there. But again, I don't want to do that to them. So we're trying to, focus on sort of what the next task is, and that's tomorrow night, and get through tomorrow night, and then sort of assess it from there.
Hi, Ange. I was just wondering, the season obviously in terms of the cups is still going pretty well. I wonder if you think that in some ways that might have sort of led to the players almost taking their eye off the boil in the league, because they've sort of had this excuse distraction in these competitions.
No, mate. The players are giving everything every game. To think that the ones who have, this has been a good solid 2 months of us really relying on a small group of players, and for every competition. As you said, we're in every competition, which is a great thing, but it obviously adds a toll. We've been playing 2 games a week for this whole period, but to suggest the players are given anything other than, that's why we're kind of picking up some injuries now, is that the players are given everything every game. They're not prioritising anything. They're trying their utmost, and in every every fixture we have, and they'll continue to do so. And like I said, we're still in 3 cup competitions, and so there's a fantastic opportunity for us there in the next couple of months.
I just wondered, in terms of being in this position, do you sort of look and think, how is this happening? What is it down to? Do you sit there and think about that? Or is it just one of those perfect storms that happens because of modern football, because of scheduling? And is it a warning to those who are scheduling competitions that this is the kind of thing that you're going to be looking at in the future if you don't get a grip on it?
In terms of the first part of your question, it's a combination of both. You're kind of always, assessing as to why it's happening, which is, I think it's only logical. And certainly, early part of the year, there was some things that were kind of repeatedly happening with guys coming back from injury, getting re-injured, which kind of cost us. And sort of we've worked hard to sort of try and better that process. But the recent one is just accumulation and the toll of fixturing. You're right, and I know probably sort of we've been hit the hardest last year, but it's becoming more prevalent. I think if you look at the teams that are in Europe, even last year, you look at Newcastle, they really suffered, and Villa to a certain extent this year. You really need a really strong squad of players and keeping them healthy to cope with playing in Europe. And if you do well in the cup competitions like we have, because it's not manageable when you've got 3 games a week. I mean, for the length of time we've had, and like I said, some of it's because obviously we've done well in the Carabao Cup, and that's added extra games to our fixturing, and obviously with Europe this year, 2 extra games again. So all these things are taking its toll now. People may look at us and think it's a unique case. It is a very extreme case for sure, but I don't think it'll be as uncommon as people think as we move along. So, I think I've said before, there's some warning signs there for others, but obviously we're paying the toll right now.
Hi, Ange. In terms of what you just said there about accumulation, do you feel that there's a lesson just for the club as a whole to take on board about recruitment strategy, squad planning, should you be in Europe again next season?
I mean, look, squad numbers are going to stay the same. It's not like they're increasing, I guess is my point. I think if you're going to play this much football, you should be increasing squad numbers, is my belief. Doesn't matter how many, what strategies you put in place. Like I said, if you want to compete at this level and you happen to do well in all competitions, then there's no other way to kind of counteract it. You have to rotate your team. You have to virtually almost have 2 separate lineups. Now we haven't been able to do that. Like I said, some of that was because of the injury toll we had earlier in the season, and that's sort of accumulated, and then that's kind of created this scenario now where we're having to play with the same players consecutively. So I don't think it's a matter of the club strategy or recruiting. I think it's just a sheer numbers scenario where you've obviously got limited numbers for all competitions, and it doesn't take much if you get 2 or 3 injuries, particularly if you get them in sort of similar areas, then that adds the load to the existing group. So and you've got to factor in international football in that. It's not like they're getting a break between seasons. So all these things, like I said, the calendar's really ramped up in the last, I've said before, the last 5 years, the game's changed a lot more than it had probably in the previous 50 years in everything. And there's going to be some issues we need to deal with if the game keeps changing this quickly.
Folgefrage zu der Frage davor. Ja, denken Sie, dass es da vielleicht auch eine gewisse Lektion gibt, die man daraus lernen kann, die vielleicht auch Ihre Strategie, was die Spielerkäufe, was die Transfers angeht nächstes Jahr, die Ihre Strategie da beeinflussen könnte? Und die Antwort des Trainers ist, die Größe einer Mannschaft ist eigentlich immer mehr oder weniger die gleiche, und wenn man gut dabei sein will in den Wettbewerben, dann gibt es eigentlich mittlerweile fast nur noch den einen Weg, nämlich dass man quasi fast zwei komplette Mannschaften benötigt, 2 komplette Aufstellungen. Und das wäre bei uns Anfang der Saison auch so gewesen, aber dann kam eben das ganze Verletzungspech dazu und das hatte zur Folge, dass wir jetzt eigentlich fast alle Spieler immer mit den gleichen Spielern machen mussten. Ich denke nicht, dass es groß die Strategie beeinflussen wird, sondern es ist wirklich einfach die schiere Anzahl der Spiele, wie der Kalender angewachsen ist. Und dann darf man Und dann darf man nicht
I've lost the
vergessen.
translator as well.
Sorry?
Even my translator's injured. Everyone, just stay away from me.
Ja. Ja, und dann darf man nicht vergessen, kommt halt auch noch der internationale Fußball, also die Nationalmannschaften dazu, wo eben auch nochmal viel Belastung auf den Spielern zwischen den beiden Saisons liegt. Es ist eigentlich immer irgendwas los. Wenn man sich den IMC, den internationalen Matchkalender, wenn man sich den anschaut, wie stark der sich in den letzten 5 Jahren verändert hat, ich würde sagen, so hat sich das in den letzten 15 Jahren nicht verändert wie in den letzten 5. Also es ist schon heftig geworden.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.